India's constitution wasn't born in 1950. Its journey began nearly 200 years earlier, with British rule. Company corruption shocked Britain. Parliament decided it was time to control the company's administration. In 1773, Parliament passed the Regulating Act, the first constitutional law for British India. It created the Governor-General, Executive Council, Supreme Court, and parliamentary supervision. This was the first step toward India's constitutional and legal system. Remember, 1773, GCSP, Governor-General, Council, Supreme Court, Parliament. Political control shifted to the British Crown. A new era of direct rule begins. The company now bows to the state. Politics went to the Parliament.
Remember this UPSC shortcut. Politics went to Parliament, trade stayed with the company. That's Pitt's India Act, 1784.
1813 changed India's future forever. The East India Company's monopoly was broken, opening India's markets to British merchants. The company's monopoly ended. But not entirely. It still controlled the profitable tea trade and trade with China. The company's monopoly ended. The Act also reinforced the authority of the British Crown over the company's territories, increasing government supervision. The company's monopoly ended. For the first time, 1 lakh rupees every year was set aside to promote education in India. The Act also allowed Christian missionaries to enter India freely, spreading education and religious teachings. Remember Charter Act 1813 with 5 keywords: monopoly, tea and China, crown, education, and mastered this act for UPSC. What if one law transformed India from scattered presidencies into one centrally governed empire? That's the Charter Act of 1833. The Charter Act of 1833 unified British administration. For the first time, one central government could make laws for all British-controlled territories in India. The Governor-General of Bengal became the Governor-General of India. The East India Company lost all its commercial activities. From now on, it functioned only as the administrative arm of the British Crown. It was chaired by Thomas Babington Macaulay and began the process of codifying Indian laws, which later resulted in the Indian Penal Code. The Act declared that no Indian should be denied government employment because of religion, race, or birthplace, though equality remained largely on paper. Remember these 5 points: Governor-General of India, centralization, end of company trade, first law commission became the public employment. What if one British law became the foundation of today's UPSC civil services? That's exactly what the Charter Act of 1853 did. This was the last Charter Act passed for the East India Company. Unlike earlier acts, it fixed no time limit for the company's rule. For the first time, the executive and legislative functions of the Governor-General's Council were separated, making lawmaking more specialized. The Act introduced the idea of open competitive examinations for the civil services, replacing appointments based mainly on patronage. A year later, the Macaulay Committee recommended the pattern for competitive civil services examinations, shaping the future of recruitment.
Remember these 4 UPSC points. Last Charter Act, separate legislative and executive functions, open civil services, and the Macaulay Committee 18.
One rebellion changed India's history forever. The Revolt of 1857 ended the East India Company's rule and forced Britain to take direct control. The Government of India Act, 1858, abolished company rule. From now on, India was governed directly by the British Crown. Under this act, the Governor-General also became the Viceroy. Lord Canning became the first Viceroy of India, representing the British Crown. A new Secretary of State for India was appointed in London. He became the most powerful authority over Indian administration. To assist the Secretary of State, a 15-member Council of India was created. Together, they managed India's affairs from London. Queen Victoria's Proclamation 1858 promised religious freedom, protection of princely states, equal opportunity in public employment, and non-interference in religious matters. Remember these UPSC keywords: Crown Rule, First Viceroy, Secretary of State, Council of India, and Queen's Proclamation.
The Government of India Act 1858 transformed British administration and paved the way for future constitutional reforms.
The British realized India couldn't be governed without involving Indians. This led to the Indian Councils Act of 1861. The Indian Councils Act 1861 restored the Governor-General's Legislative Council, bringing back the process of laws after the Revolt of 1857. For the first time, Indians were nominated as non-official members of the Legislative Council. Although their role was limited, it marked the beginning of Indian participation in lawmaking. The Act recognized the portfolio system. Different departments were assigned separately, making administration more organized and efficient. But these councils had very limited powers. Members could only advise, while the Governor-General retained complete control. Remember these 4 UPSC keywords: Indians nominated, portfolio system legalized, provincial councils revived, and the beginning of decentralization. Did you know? The Indian Councils Act of 1892 gave Indians a voice, but not real power. Growing political awareness and increasing public demands forced the British to expand legislative councils after the Act of 1861. The Act increased the number of additional members in both central and provincial legislative councils. Members could now discuss the annual budget and ask questions to the government, but they still couldn't vote or control decisions. For the first time, the principle of indirect election entered Indian politics, although the Act officially called it nomination. Remember these 4 UPSC keywords: expanded councils, budget discussion, questions, and indirect elections. Save this for your polity revision. After the Swadeshi movement shook British rule of 1909, popularly known as the Morley-Minto reforms, these reforms must satisfy the moderates. The Act significantly expanded the central and provincial legislative councils, increasing Indian representation. For the first time, members could ask supplementary questions, discuss the budget, and move resolutions on matters of public importance. Its most controversial feature was the introduction of separate electorates for Muslims, the beginning of the British divide and rule policy. The reforms also opened the door for Indians to hold higher executive positions in the colonial administration, marking an important constitutional milestone. Remember these 5 UPSC facts: supplementary questions, budget discussion, participation, but also deepened communal politics. By 1915, British India had too many scattered. GOI Act 1915 brought them together into one consolidated law. This act did not introduce major constitutional reforms. Its main purpose was to combine all existing laws governing British India into one comprehensive act. It clearly defined the powers of the Governor-General, provincial governments, legislative councils, and the Secretary of State under a single legal framework. But don't confuse it with a Reform Act. It gave Indians no significant new political rights, no responsible government, and no major expansion of representation. Its importance lies in simplifying British's administration and preparing the legal foundation for the Government of India Act 1919. UPSC trick. Remember 1915 with 4 words: consolidation, administration, codification, transition to 1919. After World War I, Britain promised gradual self-government to Indians. The result was also known as the Montechelmsford Reforms. For the first time, diarchy was introduced in provinces. Important departments stayed with the British, while Indians handled only less powerful subjects. The Act created a bicameral legislature at the centre. Although Indians got more representation, the Viceroy still held overriding powers. The Act expanded the electorate, continued separate electorates, provided for a public service commission, and promised a constitutional review after 10 years. Nationalists rejected the Act. Real power remained with the British, and events like the Rowlatt Act and Jallianwala Bagh shattered Indian trust. Remember these 5 facts: diarchy, bicameral legislature, public service commission, separate electorates. Save this for UPSC revision. In 1927, Britain to decide India's constitutional future, but it had one shocking flaw.
Simon, go back!
The Simon Commission was appointed to review the Government of India Act 1919 and recommend constitutional reforms, but not a single Indian was included. Its exclusion of Indians united the nation. Across the country, one slogan echoed: and recommend constitutional reforms, but not a single Indian was included. During the Lahore protest, Lala Lajpat Rai was seriously injured in a police lathi charge. His death became a turning point in India's freedom struggle. The boycott strengthened the demand that India's constitution should be framed by Indians themselves, not imposed by Britain. Remember these 5 points. They're frequently asked in UPSC Prelims and explain why the Simon Commission became a milestone in India's constitutional journey.
Did you know? The Government of India Act 1935 is called the mini constitution of British India because many features of our constitution were borrowed from it. It proposed an all-India federation, introduced provincial autonomy, and divided powers into federal, provincial, and concurrent lists, the foundation of India's federal structure. The Act established the Reserve Bank of India, created the Federal Court, expanded voting rights, and introduced bicameral legislatures in several provinces. But complete self-rule was still denied. The proposed federation never came into force, and the Governor-General retained sweeping powers over defense and key decisions. Many features of today's constitution, including federalism, the Governor's office, emergency provisions, and the Judiciary, trace their roots to this Act. UPSC shortcut. Remember PTRF, Government of India Act 1935 wasn't India's constitution, but it became its blueprint.
In 1942, Britain sent a constitutional proposal that could have changed India's future. But why did it fail, and how did it lead to the Quit India movement? By 1942, Britain wanted greater cooperation from Indian leaders. To discuss India's constitutional future, it sent Sir Stafford Cripps with a set of proposals. The mission proposed Dominion status after the war, a constituent assembly to frame India's constitution to stay out of the Union, while defense remained under British control. The proposals failed because India's major political stakeholders had different expectations. As no agreement was reached, the Cripps Mission ended without success. Although the Cripps Mission failed, it became an important milestone in India's constitutional journey, leading to later negotiations that ultimately resulted in independence and the UPSC revision. Remember 1942, Cripps Mission? Key points are Dominion status after the war and a constituent assembly, a favorite topic in modern history.
I feel nauseous, believe me.
In 1946, the Cabinet Mission arrived. It was Britain's last major proposal for a united India, aiming to transfer power to Indian leadership. The Cabinet Mission Plan was sent with a clear purpose. It was transfer power peacefully and avoid partition, and to frame a constitution for a united India. The plan proposed a three-tier federal structure, featuring a central union, empowered provinces, and grouped provincial administrations. The Constituent Assembly was formed. Its members were elected indirectly by provincial assemblies. Their monumental task, aiming to transform princely states, were also invited. The Cabinet Mission Plan ultimately failed. There was disagreement over the grouping of provinces. Deep political differences and a trust deficit led to its rejection. For UPSC revision, remember the plan proposed the Constituent Assembly. It established the interim government, and the grouping of provinces paved the partition in 1947. By 1947 had decided to transfer power as quickly as possible. On 3 June 1947, a new constitutional plan for India's independence was officially announced. The plan established the constitutional roadmap and administrative framework for India's transition to independence. The transfer of power was scheduled for 15 August 1947, marking the end of British rule. British paramountcy ended, and the princely states had to determine their constitutional future. Quick UPSC revision. 3 June Plan. Independence. Transfer of power. 15 August 1947. And the end of British paramountcy. On 1947, the British Parliament passed the Indian Independence Act, the law that ended nearly 200 years of British rule in India. From 15 August 1947, two Indian dominions, India and Pakistan, came into existence. British legislative control ended. The British Parliament could no longer make laws for India. Sovereignty shifted to the people of the new dominions. Princely states were free to join India or Pakistan, while India's Constituent Assembly continued drafting the constitution that would come into force in 1950. British control ended. The office of the Secretary of State for India was abolished, and India gained complete legislative sovereignty. 1935, 1947, 1950. The journey from colonial rule to constitutional India.